Hello and welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. Colin Cowherd is out today. It's been an eventful second round of the U.S. Open. My man Tim Brando is here to help me break it down. Let's get into it. Here's some of the notable scores from the second round. Dustin Johnson is way ahead of the pack at 4 under, while Tiger Woods finished at plus 10, and it looks like there's no way he's going to make the cut. Right now it's projected at 8 over. Tiger's 2 beyond that. I think, Tim, the pressure of a major championship, particularly on a course this hard, just way too much for Tiger Woods. I think he folded under the pressure.
If you're going to take a look at it from the standpoint of his first 2 holes where he was 4 over and started with a triple bogey, I do think you're probably accurate on that, Jason. And you are a soothsayer. I'll give you that. But I thought his tee to green game wasn't that bad. But what's happening to Tiger Woods is what's happened to a lot of guys when they got into their early 40s. Happened to Arnold Palmer way back in the day. Happened to Tom Watson. Oh, he had a bulky putter when he was the Ryder Cup captain. It happens to guys when they get in their early 40s. Those small muscles that come into play with the putter in hand can be a bit of a problem. It wasn't that he had the yips. He didn't look like Jason Duffner over the ball, who's probably the most likely candidate to be in a position to really go after Dustin Johnson if he can make a 5-foot putt. But Tiger's inability to read putts, he's backed off several shots, whether it was his second shot or putts along the green, more than I think I've ever seen. Paul Azinger pointed that out on our coverage. I think he's right.
I think people think Tiger, the previous Tiger, was immune to pressure and that he handled pressure better than anybody. I'm not so sure. Tiger was just more talented. And so, look, I think the reason why I argue pressure got to him is because once he reached the 17th hole and he's 12 over par and the pressure is completely off, he knows he's not making the cut. What's he do? He goes birdie back-to-back, gets to plus 10. Once the pressure's off, he performed.
It was the par 5 where he was just off the green, 10 yards off the green, couldn't get it up and down. Had he got it to 9, we probably would be talking about the potential of a few scores coming in and that number moving from 8 to 9 and him making the weekend. But, yeah, listen, it's always overcooked whenever Tiger conversation comes up. Did he succumb to some pressure early, as you suggested, because of who he was playing with? Yeah, maybe. But these guys now are better than he is now. Perhaps not better than he was when he left the game.
No, not that. That's not perhaps.
The issue is, where is his game now? And I still believe he's going to win. I think the potential of him winning a major is there, but it's more than likely going to be an Open Championship across the pond on a links golf course, or it's going to be at Augusta National, a golf course made to order for him and one where he can carry a lot of heavy weight.
I think too much pressure, the British Open, too much pressure, the Masters. If he wins another major, it'll be the PGA Championship, which is a major.
Well, if it's not there, if it's not Augusta, it would be the PGA. I agree with that. But the U.S. Open is too fraught with difficulty across the board. All 3 phases of your game are ultimately tested. That's what the USGA wants. You got to be the best in all 3 phases, and right now DJ is.
I think, and I'm telling you, he's my second favorite athlete of all time. No one's brought me more joy as a sports fan than watching Tiger Woods. Magic Johnson, maybe a little bit more. I was a kid then. I think he's done as an elite golfer. I really don't expect him. He may win some nondescript tournament. I don't expect him to win a major championship.
He's the victim of his own prowess because all these guys, including Justin Thomas, a young man for whom he's playing alongside during the course of many other tournaments, is a kid that grew up wanting to be like Tiger. These are fearless young players that saw Tiger Woods when he was elite, and now they're hunting down flag sticks in a manner with a game, that is where Tiger's was when he was in his prime. And there are too many of them, The competition level today, that's why I've said golf doesn't have to have Tiger. It's wonderful when he's there. It's better for the game. But in terms of playing capability, we've got a half dozen to a dozen young wonder kids coming into the sport that have really enlightened the game since Woods really left his prime.
All right, Dustin Johnson shoots a 67 today, a relatively commanding lead in this U.S. Open at -4. No, Justin Rose, I think right now is flirting with maybe getting to -1, but everybody else at even par or worse. Do you expect Dustin Johnson to run away with this thing?
He could, but I don't think he will. And because his putter has been off the charts. I mean, he's draining 45-footers today. It's amazing what he's done. But I think in a U.S. Open setup, where one shot into the fescue, it got to Russell Henley today. He was tied with Dustin when the day started, wound up shooting 73, had a double bogey simply from going into the fescue, took him 2 shots to get out. If that happens to him, even someone as strong as Dustin can back up a little bit. And there are too many other really good ball strikers like Rose, like Fowler, and my pace car driver, Charlie Hoffman, who just plods along getting the job done. No, this thing is not over. If you're talking 4-shot lead going into the final round, yeah, he may be a really great front runner. But we're talking about the halfway mark, and a 4-shot lead at 36 is not enough to put it in his pocket.
I think that Dustin Johnson playing with Tiger Woods and Justin Thomas had an opposite effect. I think it elevated Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
I think pummeling Tiger Woods on this stage, I've been telling everybody this, these young guys have been looking for the opportunity to pummel Tiger Woods. It's not they have any animosity, but it's like this is the golf they've always wanted to play. They wanted to be there when Tiger Woods was in his prime to challenge him. They'll take this Tiger Woods. It's like beating up Mike Tyson after Evander Holyfield's kind of exposed him, the way Tiger's wife exposed him. Yeah. And so I think Dustin elevated his play because he was playing with Tiger Woods. It'll be interesting to see what he does over the next 2 days when he's removed from when Tiger Woods is on that boat and headed back to Florida. It'll be interesting what he's doing from there.
I think the biggest catalyst for Dustin Johnson was the slam dunk on the 72nd hole in Memphis at the St. Jude. Southwind is a really tough golf course. It has a lot of water on it. By PGA standards, one of the more difficult. It's going to host a World Golf Championship event there next year. They're changing the format. For him to slam dunk it from 170-plus yards with a 9-iron and take it out of the hole for a huge win on the eve of the U.S. Open had to give him a lot of confidence coming in. And no one's ever questioned what this guy can do off the tee. But now his iron play and his putting has come together, and he is the best guy right now on the planet. There's no denying he's the #1 player in the world.
Dustin Johnson's my pick to win it, most talented. But having said that, I think he's going to back up. Yeah. Your 2 picks that you were high on, Ricky Fowler and Justin Rose, are sitting right there. Yeah. And if I could switch my pickup today, I actually think Justin Rose is the guy that can go get Dustin Johnson.
He's done it before. He won at Marion. I think the fact that Rose is a little bit like Johnson, when he's had problems, it's only been with the flat stick. His driver and his iron play, as I said, from a ball striking standpoint, he hit a 5-iron today, 240-plus yards that was immaculate to within 7 feet, flushed it. Listen, he's the guy that can go mano-a-mano and stride around the golf course when paired with Dustin Johnson and never back up a lick. Now, Ricky Fowler, when he's had issues, it's been with one big bad blow-up hole. Interestingly, both of these guys that are chasing Dustin Johnson are coached by Butch Harmon, the same guy that
Tiger walked away from.
And oh, by the way, one that Tiger walked away from first.
Welcome back. Tim Brando is back. We're joined now by a couple of golf nuts. Former NBA star Jim Jackson, former NFL star Greg Jennings. Let's return to Shinnecock Hills. Guys, me and Tim talked about this yesterday. I still don't like it. The course is way too hard. I want to see some scoring. I know this is kind of the typical U.S. Open. One guy gets hot and is under par, and the rest of the field's kind of a calamity. I just don't like it, Tim. I want to see some scoring. This thing
non-player,
player. Yeah, that's what it is.
It's non-player, player. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm a decent player. I'm an 11 handicap.
Smack it around a bit, right?
I smack it around. Yeah. I chase the little white pill. You don't. I think that's the key. Non-golfers want to see exciting moments. They want Augusta National back 9 moments. You don't get that in a U.S. Open. And by the way, you're not supposed to get that at a U.S. Open.
You want to see the best players in the world made fools of.
Yeah, because I'm made a fool every time I
absolutely.
Play. So when I see a professional golfer and they chunk a shot and they miss something, I feel better about myself. And now, I played Shinnecock Hills about a month ago with the Corporate Cup with Fox. And at that time, they were letting the rough grow. They didn't shave the greens. But I was walking the course and I'm saying, you know what? I'm playing on a perfect day. No wind, no rain. and I'm struggling just to hold the greens. I said, if the temperature drops, it rains, the wind picks up, and they're playing from the back tees, the pros are going to have a difficult time. But I love that. I love to see guys go through stuff because golfers want this. They want to know exactly where their shot is going. But firm surfaces are going to dictate something different. Pin placement is going to dictate something different, and weather will dictate something different. And that's what we're seeing right now, with the first 2 rounds. So I'm not mad at all.
And it's what we didn't see last year in Aaron Hills, where it was basically a shootout.
Yeah.
It was about who's going to get the lowest.
Yeah.
And I get what you're saying, but from a golfer's perspective, to your point, as an amateur player, I want to see them struggle.
If you make triple bogey on number 1 and you put up a Mickey Mantle, it takes moxie to
grind
steady
that.
the ship and grind. And I thought Tiger Woods was capable. And middle way through that round yesterday, it seemed as though he was getting it together. But the back 9 reared its ugly head, and Tiger's issues.
You three are all hacks.
Right.
And you do bad.
Pretty good hacks.
Right. Decent hacks.
I'm a pretty good hack.
You're all bad. You're all bad hacks.
I'm at the champion's tees, so I'm a
You
decent
deserve
hack.
those triple and quadruple bogeys. I'm looking at golfers a lot of times that make the right shot and don't get rewarded for it. That doesn't happen to you three.
Life's not fair, and neither is golf.
Here's the thing, though. But the beauty about golf is this: it's played outside. So things are going to happen that you can't control. And when I'm in a controlled environment in the basketball court, it's not wind coming through. It's not things like that. It's not raining. But outside on the professional level, like football, you can't control the temperature or the weather or the wind. So if you're a right-handed player and it's a left to right wind, you're going to have some issues at Shinnecock.
Absolutely. And the reason why I like the way the course is playing, and of course I'm not there playing it in these conditions, so I can say this, but you typically are going to get the best golfer who stands out all across the board. When you look at Dustin Johnson, he's the calmest golfer on the golf course. He never gets rattled. Even when he has a bad shot or a bad stretch, he finds a way to get back in it. And mind you, the course is made a lot easier when you got a guy who can just go from the tee to a wedge shot on almost any given hole.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to Dustin Johnson, who is outplaying everyone right now, sitting at 4 under in a field where nobody else is even under par. Golf has been desperate for another huge star as Tiger Woods has fallen apart over the past decade. And Johnson is a charismatic, big hitter with a major championship, the world's top ranking, and a celebrity fiance. Tim, is Dustin the biggest star since Tiger Woods?
Potentially. He's not there right now. But let's point out, similar to Tiger Woods, he had issues, big-time issues off the course. And within the PGA Tour, it's a matter of record. It's been documented. He has steadied all of that. Plus, he had issues. I go back to Chambers Bay, the first U.S. Open that we had on Fox. And that 3-putt that he had, all he needed to do was 2-putt to send us to a playoff with Jordan Spieth. When he missed not just the first putt, but more importantly, the second putt, he was being questioned across the board about everything from having his brother as his caddy, needing some help because his issues with the flat stick he wouldn't come to terms with. Butch Harmon gathered him, and the people around him got around him, settled him down, and even in the aftermath of the loss, he took it in a manner that he hadn't in the past. And his comeback, and we touched on it earlier with Butch's help, particularly with the flat stick, and really Butch isn't helping him with the flat stick as much as he is the other parts of his game. But the reality is, I'm watching today that 45-footer go down, and he does it on a hole where Tiger Woods is on the same plane. His ball is on the same line. And you're watching that replay, slow motion, and Woods is watching and looking at that particular putt as he walks into the frame. I'm thinking to myself, Tiger's got to be saying, I remember this.
Absolutely.
This used to be me. It's now Dustin Johnson.
All fair points. Comparing anyone to Tiger Woods, I think, is a bit silly.
Absolutely.
And so
That's why I won't say that he is.
Yeah, biggest, because John Daly, to me, is still probably a bigger star than even Dustin Johnson, a more fascinating, interesting character than Dustin Johnson. Dustin Johnson is the most talented player I think I've seen since Tiger Woods. But in terms of stardom, in terms of driving television ratings and interest, he can't do it just because Tiger, what sports fans are dying for, where we've all fallen in love with our cell phones and taking pictures, we all want to document history. And so when Tiger Woods goes out there and he's chasing Jack Nicklaus and he's 25% half African-American and all that history he brings to the table, it's damn near impossible for anybody to match that or be that kind of star.
What you're saying is that he has a story. He has a story that attracts people. Even the novice golf fan who didn't really watch golf would watch Tiger on the weekend. You have Ricky Fowler, young, energetic, a lot of young girls like him, but he has something. Jordan Spieth, Jason Day. Justin Thomas. Justin Thomas. But you have all these guys, you're talking about Dustin, but they don't have a storyline, something that's going to grip and bring people. Even when Sergio won his Masters, the ratings for that, for his first time to win a green jacket, to win a major, he still didn't draw in people. And that's what we're missing when you're talking about bringing a star. Yeah, he's the most talented. But from a star perspective, I still don't see that with the young guys that are going to attract the people that are just novice fans to come and watch golf.
But I don't think they need that. And Justin Thomas, you mentioned it, he has everything, the skill set to be the best. And he's showing us that.
Justin Thompson or Dustin?
I'm sorry, Dustin Johnson.
But the ratings are reflecting it, though.
But he doesn't need to be Tiger. He doesn't need to have that one specific, it's just me on, because he has Jordan Spieth. He has all these other guys.
Justin Thomas.
He has he has all these other names.
That,
because golf has never been, fellas, about ratings. Golf has been about advertising revenue, okay? Arnold Palmer was the first guy to move the needles, all right, because he was the king. And Jack Nicklaus became the greatest of all time. But golf has always been considered a niche sport. The only time golf became mainstream was when Tiger Woods came into vogue, and it was because of the packaging. It wasn't necessarily golf. It was the Nike swoosh. It was the selling. It was the Steinberg action. It was what Earl did. All of those things came into play. He was on the Mike Douglas show when he was 4 years old. He was on his way. He was a prodigy, but it was the packaging of him that brought the ratings. He's gonna change the world. He wasn't ready necessarily to do all of those things. He was programmed to do those things. Golf will do just fine without ratings. It generates a lot of revenue.
I love your point about packaging and the sponsorships and I love Jim's story about having a story to tell. This is one of the reasons why I think golf needs to actually move on from Tiger Woods.
I agree.
And
Absolutely.
So that we can actually tell the story about the rivalry. The rivalry between this group of young guys is actually the story that should be getting told instead of all of us sitting around, I wonder if this is going to be the weekend Tiger comes back. He ain't coming home. We need to get into Dustin Johnson versus Justin Thomas, Jason Day versus Roy McIlroy, Jordan Spieth.
I'm telling you, there are more coming. If you watch collegiate golf, if you watch junior golf, a lot of the great players of today in my own hometown, David Toms, is honing talents for players from as far away as South Korea and Switzerland. Okay, a lot of players of the modern era are giving back, and kids are picking up golf clubs instead of footballs. I'm here to tell you, great athletes. You see a guy like Brooks Koepka, cut, chiseled,
like
ready to go.
Right?
This is changing the complexion across the board, okay,
it really
of
is.
the sport itself.
All right, you've heard Tim and I talk in the previous segment. We both kind of like Justin Rose, Ricky Fowler as a potential challenger for Dustin Johnson. Anybody else you guys see out there? I actually think the biggest challenge for Dustin Johnson is not another golfer. It's just blowing up on one hole, because that's what this course does to you. If he posts a triple, quadruple bogey, he's going to let a bunch of people back into it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody roars back if he continues to play the way he's playing. But a guy that always, and he misses a lot of cuts. You said his name earlier, Charlie Hoffman.
Yeah, ace car driver.
For whatever reason, he always finds himself in these majors on the first page, making sure that I'm on the leaderboard. It's one of those things where you will never really bet on Charlie Hoffman, but you can almost bet he's going to be around and giving himself a chance. So I would love to see somebody like that win it.
Well, selfishly, Henrik Stenson for me.
Yeah, great ball
and the reason why is because he's a great ball striker. Plus, his 3-wood, depending on if the weather shifts, he's able to keep the ball underneath the wind. His iron play is excellent. And plus, around the green, he has touch. So he's right there in regards to just knocking the white off the ball with Dustin. I think if Dustin comes back a little bit, and he stays steady, he can make a run Saturday and Sunday.
Lesser known player, but he's got the best score in the tournament to this point. He shot a 66 today. Tommy, don't call me Mick Fleetwood. All right, this guy is legitimate. He's won 4 European events. He's been on leaderboards and major championships before, over here as well as over there. He's got the long locks. He looks like maybe his build is such that maybe he won't stand up to it. You think of him maybe as more of an Ian Poulter type than a Justin Rose type. I will concede that if he's capable of backing up this 66 with an under 70 round tomorrow. And if he does, that would be my sleeper choice right now, Tommy Fleetwood.
I'm going to say something preposterous, but I'm not ready to count out Phil Mickelson. I know he's at like +7 when we're on the air right now.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's going to finish up, but anything's a possibility with this course. Dustin Johnson can blow up, and a lot of guys can get back in this. People thought what Phil's doing right now, and let's knock on wood, see if he's able to finish out. The kind of grinding out he's doing to make this cut is what we thought we were going to see from Tiger Woods, and we're actually seeing it from Phil Mickelson. The NFL Players Association should fire its executive director, DeMaurice Smith. According to the website Pro Football Woke and its editor, Mike Florio, Smith and the NFLPA have hired multiple law firms to research potential lawsuits to fight the league's new national anthem policy. I'm not joking, although I wish I was. The new policy, instituted last month by the NFL owners, requires players to stand respectfully during the playing of our national anthem or stay inside the locker room until its completion. So, the players have 2 options. 1, they can take 3 minutes on game day and join the overwhelming majority of their fans in recognizing that we're all lucky to live in a country where descendants of former slaves can rise to the presidency, the head of the NFLPA, host of a sports talk TV show, multi-millionaire wide receiver, or filthy rich gangster rapper. Or 2, they can stay in the locker room and build their Twitter followings by symbolically feigning concern for the plight of poor people of color by reigniting a conversation about the appropriateness of protesting during the national anthem. The foolishness of the players bothers me, but it's understandable. They're all relatively young, and when you're young, it's easy to get swayed by groupthink, rebellious anti-establishment fads, and other forms of liberal stupidity. But DeMaurice Smith doesn't have the excuse of youth. He's 54 and should easily recognize when he and his union are being played like a banjo by forces determined to destroy the sport, the league, and the industry that enriches his union members. That's what's happening here. The destruction of football is an inside job. Smith, Colin Kaepernick, and a handful of black players have been manipulated into undermining the American industry that has produced more black male millionaires than any other industry. Football, with a player-employee base that is 70% black, is at the top of the American entertainment chain. It's an unmatched cultural force. It's the #1 show on 5 different television networks. It's 1,000 times more popular and powerful than Oprah Winfrey in her prime. There are a group of people with a certain political point of view who don't like football's place in our culture. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones isn't part of that group. Neither is Texans owner Bob McNair, or Washington's Dan Snyder, or Clark Hunt in Kansas City, or Woody Johnson in New York, or the Mara family. I could go on. But the old white billionaires of the NFL who are pilloried as bigots don't have a problem with a powerful cultural force that turns black men into millionaires. Why in the hell is DeMaurice Smith fighting these guys over the national anthem? Surely he knows a big part of the reason football passed baseball as America's national pastime is because legendary NFL Commissioner Pete Rozelle attached the game to patriotism, respect for the military and flag. Surely Smith knows a big part of the reason the NFL generates $14 billion annually and will spend $177 million per team on player salaries this season is because the league has been sold as uber patriotic. Why would Smith lead a national anthem fight that damages the brand, that enriches the players? Does he not understand his job? Has he taken the time to explain to the players that this national anthem fight is devaluing the brand of the NFL players? It's making them polarizing? Is no one in football smart enough to realize there's a reason NBA players with the leverage of guaranteed contracts aren't dumb enough to fight their league over a stricter national anthem policy? DeMaurice Smith said in February that he and the union are preparing for war over the next collective bargaining agreement in 2021. He clearly can't see the big picture. No rational black man would want war with the NFL. Smith is a foolish looter burning down his own neighborhood. He should be fired post-haste. All right, I've got some former National Football League players here, Bucky Brooks, Greg Jennings. I have a former NBA player, Jim Jackson. Whew. Someone help me understand what DeMaurice Smith is doing here, what these handful of NFL players are doing here, picking a fight over the national anthem, devaluing their brand, devaluing their sport. This is stupidity. Someone help me understand.
It's not an anthem issue. This is a CBA issue. This is a CBA issue because the NFL and the NFLPA are partners. It's a collaboration. When big things have to happen, you have to talk to the players to make sure you get it approved. DeMaurice Smith is making sure that the NFL understands the protocol and they don't set a precedent that they can go out and do whatever they want without consulting the players. The difference between the NFL and the NBA, in my estimation, there's a mutual respect between both parties. There's a mutual respect. And so the reason the NBA can go with a stricter anthem policy is because the players get that the owners care about them beyond what the stuff.
They
no,
do.
No,
they just care and
so
care and care. And that's why
that,
Donald Sterling was an owner in the NBA for decades with his record of discrimination for decades. And then they catch him on tape talking to his jump off and want to demonize him because he had some comments about Magic Johnson. That's when they had to get rid of him. The man owned the team unimpeded for decades. I'm so tired of hearing about the NBA and how they get along with their players. No, they don't. No better than any other league or any other industry. It's garbage.
I'm going to help you out even more, Bucky. because obviously Jason is missing the point here.
He is.
And I read this article, and then I got a chance to listen to it again, and I'm baffled by it. Because your attack on even DeMaurice Smith, who I've never really defended every single day. I've not been in agreement with every decision that was made, but his role is advocate for the player. His role is to be that guy, that voice. Now, he's sitting right now as I speak. I just got off the phone with one of his colleagues. He's in executive meetings right now on behalf of this anthem issue. Right now.
You making my point.
Now let me explain something to you.
Issue.
The reason why he's doing his job, the number one role of the NFLPA is to make sure that the labor union stays intact. If you take away the rights of the players, that's why we have this NFLPA intact. They make ensure they don't get taken advantage of. And when you make a decision and implement something like this, of this magnitude, and you don't even communicate, you don't even consult the players, the other party,
Greg,
you are going to have an issue.
Give me a second. You played in the NFL.
I did.
So when you were in the NFL, at one point in your career, did you ever say, you know what, the anthem issue is the most important issue I got going on? No. Let him answer the question. It never was important until Colin Kaepernick got upset because he got benched, and now all the players, now the anthem is this monumental issue. At no point in your career did you care about protesting during the national anthem. It's not some monumental issue. It's a monumental issue in your mind because you've been manipulated to believe it's a monumental issue. When the NBA had the Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Chris Jackson issue, David Stern didn't consult with anybody. They suspended him, put him out of the league, and changed their rules. And no one saw it as this monumental issue. We're taking rights away from NBA players. They're not taking something important away from you. They're actually trying to say, look, man, let's do business. Let's make some money so you can take care of yourself, your family. You can support the causes that you want to be involved in. This symbolic kneeling just isn't that damn important to be drawing a line in the sand with. It wasn't important when you played. It wasn't important when you played. And you were in the NBA probably when they put Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf out of the league.
Well, here's the thing. I was part of the union when I played. And I get what you're saying in regards to being able for the union to sign off or at least talk about at CBA about rules being passed. That's what's so important about having a union. Now, here's my point.
They got rules about how high they can wear their socks.
But listen, exactly. But with the NBA, one thing we had was leverage. Leverage meaning that we as a group, because we had guaranteed contracts, can enforce and impact the pockets of the owners, whether they liked it or not, by striking, by holding out, by doing things like that, which are uncommon and for NFL, just because guys have non-guaranteed contracts.
You're making my point, Jim.
But here's my point, and I get what the NFL is doing in regards to we have to fight the bottom line for the union in order for the NFL not to come in here and just pass anything they want. They have to at least come to the table and have a conversation with the union heads in order to get things passed. That's my point. They just can't just pass anything.
Here's my point. I agree. But save going to war and major battles and spending a bunch of money with law firms over things that matter. This is the equivalent of saying, we're going to go to war with them because they want us to wear our socks up to our knees. That's what this is. We've turned it in to this mammoth, oh my God, I can't kneel during the national anthem. He didn't care about it, you didn't care about it. No,
I don't really believe players care that much about it, to be honest. I really don't believe, because the protest or whatever we want to call it was going away. However, because the president of the United States keeps bringing it into the forefront.
Yes, you've been baited.
Because he keeps bringing it to the forefront, that's why it's an issue. But the only reason I'm saying that the union has to go to bat is because it's a CBA issue.
Yes.
It is not the anthem. I don't think the players care that much about the anthem. It's about the CBA and the protocol.
Can I give you an example, though? Here's where I think you can fight the battle a little bit better. When David Stern implemented the rule in the NBA that we had as a dress code, wasn't nothing we could do about it. But you know what we said inside? When the CBA came up in regards to negotiations, guys were going to be on the same page and make sure that we're going to get something out of this because of what they did to us. Because we didn't have a voice. We didn't have a voice when that rule came in. But what we did as a union, because we had a strong union, we got the guys together and said, listen, now we're going to negotiate on different terms. We're going to get some things in this CBA that normally we wouldn't get because of what they done before, because they implemented a different rule. That's where we got our strength from.
And let me translate what Jim just said. When we had a silly issue because our boss wanted us to dress professionally on the job, we didn't go to war over it. We waited for the collective bargaining agreement. We didn't try to tear down our league because our boss wanted us to dress appropriately, and we were too immature to see the wisdom of what he was doing.
I ain't say that.
No, that's my translation
That's
of it.
not my translation.
And y'all can't understand the wisdom of what they're trying to do to protect this money. Don't damage the brand. If you understand the history of the league and how you got there, $170 million per team will be spent on NFL players, 70% of whom will be black. You don't throw it away because some adults have said, hey, man, this thing you think you're doing to draw attention to social injustice is actually sparking a conversation about the national anthem. That's the reality. And so we can talk about hypotheticals, but let's talk about what's really going on. And then on the NBA, they're getting away with murder. If your football players were smart, you'd see the NBA is getting away with murder. They have guaranteed contracts. Their superstars make ungodly amounts of money. They have an NBA player, Sterling Brown, on tape in Milwaukee getting abused by the police, and no one is telling NBA players, you know what, burn down your league and kneel during the national anthem. Irritate your customer base. No one's doing it. They have more leverage, more power to do it.
In season to see if anyone is going to take that stand. If anyone's going to do anything
Y'all
with
been
the anthem,
baited in
no.
I'm
Not
looking at
y'all.
your leader
The
right
leader
now.
is investigating what
Spending,
to do. He's
blowing
investigating
money.
only because of the CBA. I don't think you've heard an outcry from players saying, oh my gosh, they took away our ability to demonstrate during the national anthem.
Are you
That's
kidding,
not
Bucky?
what we're hearing.
That's not what we're hearing. There's not players complaining about that.
That's not what we're hearing.
You want to chop off DeMaurice Smith's head right now
Yes.
and call for his job when he's doing his job correctly. And when it comes to the whole national anthem thing, to Bucky's point, this has nothing to do with the anthem. I understand. Let me finish.
We got to talk facts. You can't say it has nothing to do with the national anthem when they're protesting during the national anthem. You can't say nothing. You can say it has less to do, but you can't. Nothing is impossible. That's factually incorrect.
I get what you're saying.
No, that's
but
facts.
the intent of the protest is not directed towards the national anthem.
Good. Okay, we agree. I agree with you on that.
So,
But hold on. But as adults, and I'm 51, as adults, I've lived long enough to know the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Good intentions don't justify all your actions.
Now, I'm going to say this.
Smart intentions.
I'm going to say this. Colin Kaepernick was never kneeling until the advice of Nate Boyer told him to take a knee. He was just sitting on the bench. To be honest, he was just sitting on the bench until someone decided to make that an issue.
Bucky.
He didn't go out and say, hey, look at me, I'm not standing for the national anthem. That's not what Colin Kaepernick did.
He was taking a seat during the national anthem, and when asked, he said specifically, let's just deal with facts, I'm not going to stand and support the flag of a country that oppresses, blah, blah, blah. He made it about the flag instantly. And so just because he went from sitting to kneeling and blah, 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 whatever it is, he was protesting during the national anthem. He said on the record, I'm not supporting the flag that oppresses, blah, blah, blah. It's all malarkey. Because everybody that just wants to demonize America in this system, no one leaves, ever. If as black men, if we could agree, you know what, there's a place over here on the globe that's better than America, let's go, let's do it. But there isn't, and there's no industry like football for us. Basketball doesn't compare. They don't deal with as many guys. They don't deal with you got to be damn near 6'6". It's for an elite group. This football thing that we're tearing down and being baited into tearing down because we can't stop engaging with the president who trolls people. We're just letting a troll talk us into something stupid that doesn't serve our interests in the long run. And DeMaurice Smith is paid to be ahead of the conversation, to be a leader, and leaders do tough things. They don't bow to the interests of a few loud people. Because if y'all could show me that the overwhelming majority of NFL players, from Tom Brady on down, hey, man, hire some lawyers to fight this national anthem thing. I don't think the overwhelming majority of players want that. There's a few loud guys and people that want to be popular over social media, but the overwhelming majority, man, I want to play football, make this money, take care of my family, and support the things that I'm passionate about.
I don't disagree with you on that.
I don't either.
I don't disagree with you on the players want to play and not be necessarily involved in this conversation.
But their leader is out here fighting a national anthem issue that damages y'all's brand, makes players polarized, makes them less marketable.
Do you really believe, let's be honest, do you really believe the players would be polarizing if it wasn't this issue? Do you really believe that the players, in terms of the way that it's been done, young black millionaires, that it wouldn't be polarizing without the anthem issue? Do you really believe in the Twitterverse that we exist in now, that players, if they stood at attention, that they wouldn't be subject to criticism and the like? So I'm just saying, it's beyond all of that. It's not just that,
Look,
Jason.
They would be criticized for their play on the field. That's what I used to do, Bucky. You know better than anybody. You was in Kansas City.
Absolutely.
I mean, they'd be criticized. But this issue is so polarizing, the national anthem. It hurts people who care about this country and are sitting there like, really? This is not what I thought this league and these players stood for. This is about the American dream. And again, I don't know where y'all come from. I didn't make it to the NFL. But football, is a part of my American dream story. Again, I keep going back to this. I'm in a one-bedroom apartment, 400 square foot, with my father in the ghetto. Football brought me up out of that. And y'all just want to tear it down because Colin Kaepernick lost his job and let's go to war with the NFL over this whole thing of him wanting to go to war with the NFL is stupid and silly.
Let me shed some quick light from an insider's perspective of how this works. When you are in the National Football League or in the NBA, you are looked at as a public figure by many who doesn't have this platform. Yeah. And so when social issues come up and you're out in the community or you have an event, you have an appearance, and someone comes up to you, hey, can you do this? Can you say this? You should say this. You have this platform. Now, it's almost like we want players to do this, but then when they do it, there's going to be backlash. If they don't, there's still going to be backlash. So I shouldn't say they're torn, but they have a definitive decision to make. And Kaepernick's decision that he chose to make was to support what he felt was right at that moment. And using his platform during the national anthem was what he chose to do to draw the attention. Now, to your point, is it hurting the viewers and revenue? Possibly, but to gain some ground, you're gonna have to lose some ground, and that's just the way it is.
Greg, my point is.
But he's not.
And my point is, I really want you to understand what ground has been gained, and everybody. Oh, we have a conversation, so that's worth it. A conversation.
No,
America has been talking passionately about race for about 400 years. There's this myth that we only talk about it when someone protests. That's garbage. You've been lied to. You've been led astray, hoodwinked and bamboozled. And so this myth that Colin Kaepernick has gained ground with what he's done. No, he started a conversation about the appropriateness of protesting during the national anthem. He has not raised any awareness about the issues that he hasn't. Because again, and he hasn't moved, because again, the point of a protest is to move people in the middle, get them to come over to your side. He hasn't done that.
Colin Kaepernick has raised over $1 million.
He spent over $1 million of his own money giving to causes. That's what he's done. He spent.
Can I say this? And I say this too, and I think the silver lining here, I think the NFL has, and the players have an opportunity right here to have a voice, where you have 32 teams. So you got an opportunity now within the structure of your team to be a voice in those communities, to either talk to the politicians, to get a group of guys together to say, hey, listen, we want to make a change in our community where our team is at. If you did that in 32 cities.
The smart money, Jim, though.
But this is what I'm saying. But even if it's a small group, I think the voice there to be able to impact the community. Mm-hmm. Now, you said Colin Kaepernick didn't raise the money, but he did raise awareness in certain communities. If you could do that and impact your community where you're at, I think now you have a voice, a stronger voice, Jim, within the NFL. I really do.
Jim, here's what I'm suggesting. Again, here's what NFL owners do. They're not the leaders of social issues. They spend money supporting people who are smart enough to engage on those issues rather than electing themselves. And so these football players, they're not the leaders. They should take their money and support political candidates or activists who are smart enough to be leaders on this issue.
That's the same thing I'm saying.
No.
In regards to that community, I get what you're saying, but some guys do want to be in that role.
I understand.
Allow them. You can't just say everybody doesn't want to do it.
Jim.
But some guys want to do it.
No. It's not about want to. I want to marry Tamron Hall.
But that's
authentically.
But she got to want to marry you back.
Thank you.
But see, that's the difference.
You got to be qualified for the job. And so just because you want
Jason,
the job doesn't mean you're qualified for it.
Me being qualified doesn't mean that I can't go out in my community and talk to my politicians about what I think is right and wrong. But what
you can.
Okay, so
you absolutely
there is a silver lining there to what you can impact in your community.
Jim, you can do that.
All right.
I'm saying more effective would be to go get someone who's supremely qualified and expert on these and support them financially. That's how you move ahead, rather than electing yourself. I'm never going to be a personal trainer. I'm not qualified.
But I believe your point is valid.
It is.
It is about awareness. It is about using your right to vote.
Your resources.
It is about
Your resources.
using your platform and all that responsibly.
All right, welcome back. Jim Jackson is back. We're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's move to San Antonio, where reportedly Kawhi Leonard wants out of San Antonio after a season of conflict with head coach Greg Popovich and the team about the treatment of his injured knee. Many people have been saying that Pop would find a way to fix things with Kawhi, but it looks like that's not happening. And I think this is a sign that Popovich's expiration date has arrived. He will no longer be winning championships. He'll no longer be leading an elite team in San Antonio. He couldn't get along with LaMarcus Aldridge, had to fix that relationship. Now he can't get along with Kawhi Leonard. Hall of Fame, all-time great, second best coach, maybe other than Red Auerbach, maybe the best coach, or good as Phil Jackson in my mind. But it's over.
Well, it's funny because with San Antonio, the kind of curtain is being unveiled a little bit. I think with the inner workings of what's going on. Keep in mind, I've talked to a couple players who played for Pop that didn't particularly enjoy it. They said we weren't his kind of guy, so we really didn't get along. You think about
Stephen Jackson.
Well, yeah, you're right, Steve. But there's a couple more. But David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, they all kind of fit and followed what Pop wanted. The guys that were outliers that were a little bit different had some issues with Pop. The thing about Kawhi, because he doesn't speak, you don't know what he's thinking. He's that kind of guy that's sitting around plotting and saying, you know what? They told me A, B, and C, and D, but they didn't do it. And I've been in conversations where coaches, general managers tell you one thing, but then they'll put out in the paper something else. Yep. So Kawhi being that quiet guy, that quiet guy, you always, I better not mess with him too much because he doesn't say much. He can go off. Right now, Kawhi is exerting his leverage and saying, listen, now's the time for me to get away. If this is what he wants to do, he's exerting that. But I'm not surprised that finally something has come out about San Antonio not being this picture-perfect place.
And I think this is more on GM R.C. Buford than it's on Pop. Because
Really?
Pop's not talking to reporters privately saying, put this out. R.C. Buford is. And I think what has happened, Kawhi was set to meet eventually with the Spurs.
End of the month.
And meet with Pop, and R.C. probably was going to be there, and hear them out. He's looking at them like, y'all two-faced it. When I meet with y'all, it's all good. And I'm going to New York to work out. You sending trainers up here, we're fine. And we agree. Let's not go to the media and play this out in front of the media. And then a week later, I see anonymous quotes. And just recently, a couple days ago, Woj wrote a story about how when they meet, it's not just the Spurs have to say to Kawhi and show him, earn his trust back. It was Kawhi has to regain the trust of the Spurs. They want to know, can we count on you before we give you this $219 million contract? That is the last thing that has happened before this news came out today that Kawhi wants out. So that was R.C. Buford, I believe. I don't know for a fact, but that's overplayed. As far as Pop, winning championships now, it depends on who they get as players. They're still going to be good. He's an elite coach. He's
Who they going to get? Who's going to go there?
Well, whatever trade they do, if it's Boston, they're going to get a nice haul. If it's the Lakers, I don't see Lonzo Ball I see no way. Exactly. I want Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma. If I get that, that's not a bad.
But you think about how San Antonio was built. You had David Robinson was already there, but they fortunately in the draft was able to get Tim Duncan. So you had your anchors going forward. So that allowed you now to draft a little bit smarter by going after Ginobili from a European perspective. They got him late. Tony Parker. So they built the team and the foundation a little bit differently, but it was anchored because they were able to get Tim Duncan in the draft. So is San Antonio getting back to that point where now they're back in the draft in order to get a transformative player? I'm not for sure yet, but like you said, Jason, free agents are not going to be apt to really go to San Antonio. Heck, they weren't. Free agents, big time, didn't want to go to Dallas. They didn't want to go to Dallas. They won a championship. So how do you sell San Antonio for a top-tier talent to want to go?
Chris, you make a point of blaming R.C. Buford. I don't want to let Pop off the hook because Manu and Tony Parker took some pot shots at Kawhi during the season. And those are Pop's guys. You can't tell me they went off script there, that Pop had to at least say, it's fine, go ahead.
I know Jack, Steve said that Pop was behind it. And look, I don't think Pop was like, look, go take a shot. You know what I mean? But
he probably had some conversations
Yeah, he was probably
with
like,
him.
look, why don't you talk to Kawhi or, see what you can do to try to smooth things over. But look, Pop's going to be coaching Team USA in 2020. I actually think they should probably stop NBA for coaches from being the head coach, because Krzyzewski's been the head coach. That doesn't give him an advantage. But if you're the head coach, don't you think that gives him an advantage in talking with other players?
I think it's a good point you just made. All right, welcome back. Jim Jackson and Chris Broussard are back, and we're joined now by the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to San Antonio, where Kawhi Leonard reportedly wants out of San Antonio, and according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, his preferred destination is the Lakers, which raises the prospect of a possible new super team in Los Angeles and in the Western Conference that would include LeBron, Kawhi, and possibly Paul George. I think this would be horrible for the NBA. Look, you can be a prisoner of the moment. It'd be great next year. But having virtually all the talent, except for Boston and, most of the talent, the overwhelming in the Western Conference is not good.
Well, it's not from a perspective of having competitive nature. It's not. But I do believe that it's the right of a player to be able to go to a situation that best fits his needs. I truly do believe that. Because we fought so long in the NBA to be able to, one, get TV money, to be able to go to different teams we want, to get paid the way we want. So mobility from that perspective, I think, is an option. In this league itself, through the CBA, what the NBA wanted to do was to enhance your max deals to have players stay where they're at. That's the only kind of profession that does that. You have to be able to go out. It's just like you, Whit. You went from ESPN to another place to somewhere else because you felt necessary to do it.
I'm not dependent upon some fan base in one city that tries to build attachment to players and then they are just popping in and out. They're destroying the whole team concept. I don't like it.
Would you feel differently? Because I'm trying to get what your argument is. Let's say, hypothetically, those three, Kawhi, LeBron, Paul George, are going to go to Boston or somewhere in the East. Would you feel differently?
Slightly. I think that would be better. I think it would be better for the league if there was more balance. But overall, I don't like players choosing, I'm going here, 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 here. Listen, when you're making the kind of money the NBA is paying these guys, the league has to have some form of control. It just can't be total player freedom. Someone has to be looking out for the overall health of the league. This event, if San Antonio getting done like this, the Indiana Pacers had it happen to them last year with Paul George. It's not great for the small market cities and those fan bases.
Here's the thing, it's not entirely new. Like, we forget, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar demanded a trade from Milwaukee to the Lakers. Moses Malone forced his way out of Houston. He felt unappreciated and went to Philadelphia with Dr. J. They won a title. Shaq left Orlando, a great situation, went to the Lakers. I mean, Charles Barkley did it in Houston. Like, it feels new. And I think maybe social media, maybe daily talk shows, the fact that we focus on it so much more now, I think that, I'm not saying it's not a little different, but I think we forget that this has happened a lot in the past.
Whitlock, I know you're a big 80s basketball fan, as was I, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Did you know that from 1980 to 1989, the prime league when Bird and Magic came in and made it huge, only 5 teams got to the finals? From 2010 to 2018, 8 teams have gotten to the finals. So this idea that the league's too top-heavy, it's just not true. I know the Warriors are amazing and better than everybody else, but there have been a lot of teams this decade get to the finals. And to the second point, like, I just don't understand. You're pro player a lot. In a lot of cases. This is pro player over the owners, over the league. Let these guys go where they want. Let them have fun. I don't understand why you're so anti teaming up and joining forces. And,
well, one, I literally, I have virtually no respect for what the Golden State Warriors have done with Kevin Durant. I think it's cowardly what Durant did and basically the team. But listen, man, I'm for the players making as much money as they can possibly make. But I also have to be for the fans and making sure that experience is protected because at the end of the day, more than a talk show host, I'm a sports fan. And seeing Paul George bully his way out of Indiana bothers me.
It worked out for your Pacers.
Yeah, it did. It did. But for the moment, we'll see over the long haul. But you invest that kind of look. Reggie Miller playing in Indiana for 17 years. That's a great experience for me as a Pacer fan. I just think that's the experience most fans want to have. And so you'll hear me talk a lot. I'm pro player, but mostly I'm pro fan because there's more fans than there are players.
Well,
and
here's my thing, though, and I'm going to push back on this. For years, owners have always had control over mobility of players, okay? I remember I'm in Golden State, I'm in Philadelphia, owner telling me the
Jim,
coach.
you played in 12 cities.
But
what are you complaining about?
No, this is what I'm complaining about because I didn't have control over where I went.
You went everywhere, Jim.
But it doesn't matter. I'm playing for Philadelphia. Larry Brown tells me, well, I'm going to get you to a championship caliber team. Golden State is calling, but we're not talking to him. He sends me to Golden State. I don't want to play at Golden State, but I don't have a choice. Now, when I got traded from Houston to New Orleans, I took a stand and said, you know what? I'm not going. I'm 33 years old. I want to play on a winner. I don't want you to dictate. You know what New Orleans told me? We're going to find you every day you're not here. I said, you know what? Go ahead and find me. Because I'm at this point in my career, I don't want to go.
I'm malcontent.
Yeah, I am. You better believe it.
Jim Jackson
You better believe it. But I got to Phoenix, and I got to enjoy playing basketball again.
Y'all won a title?
It don't matter.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It doesn't matter.
a good team.
But we were great. But my point is, I had a level of control that I didn't have before. That's what these players have. They have a level of control where now they can dictate where their happiness, not only their finances, but where their happiness is at. And you can't take that away.
Now, Jason,
owners had it too long.
Listen, I got to tell you, I know you don't like this. This is coming to the NFL. You just saw that deal that Kirk Cousins did, a short deal so he can hit the market. You don't think Aaron Rodgers is back there saying, man, I wish I had some more control. These guys aren't building a team around me. He's seeing what these NBA guys are doing, these millennials. They're stockpiling talent, winning championships. You don't tell me NFL players want that?
Look, it may happen. It won't happen with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's going to leave Green Bay. I think he's smart enough to realize his, Bart Starr to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, that brand is so valuable long after his career is over by keeping that career in Green Bay. That's what a lot of guys don't realize, particularly in football, but I even think in basketball. Having one city associated with you. I was talking to someone, and this is a little sidetrack, but I was talking to someone today about Terrell Owens and his Hall of Fame experience. He doesn't have a team that's willing to support his Hall of Fame experience because it's expensive. If he had played for one team for a substantial period of time, he'd have a great Hall of Fame weekend. All right, welcome back. I'm joined now by Fox soccer analyst Kobe Jones and Ian Joy. Let's talk some World Cup, where today's highly anticipated matchup of Spain versus Portugal didn't disappoint, with Ronaldo dropping a hat trick on Spain in a thrilling match that ended in a 3-3 tie. If you missed it, FS1 is re-airing it in its entirety at 8 p.m. Eastern. Guys, this match absolutely lived up to every bit of the hype. I'm a bit of a soccer novice. Is that an all-time great game? How classic was it?
It was absolutely fantastic. When you're talking about group stage games, you have to admit that's probably one of the best I've seen within my lifetime within a World Cup. To see Cristiano Ronaldo, who you expect to do great things, say, you know what, I'm going to step up and do those great things.
Yeah, I think the World Cup so far has not disappointed. I mean, the opening game had 5 goals in it, and what do we want here in the United States of America? We want to be entertained. We want to see goals galore, and again today it was the match that everybody anticipated. They were looking forward to a good spectacle, and sometimes you can get a boring match when it's 2 big teams. This one didn't disappoint. It was an awesome game.
Ronaldo, I think, had scored 3 goals in World Cup in his entirety, scores 3 this time. He's never won a World Cup. I think today's performance is a great sign. This may be his year.
Yeah, he wants it. He wants it. You look at Ronaldo, he is 33 years old, possibly his last go at a World Cup, unless something amazing happens, in the next 4 years. But he wants this. This means more to him than anything else. When you look at it, he's won all the other trophies that he possibly could. So this is the moment where he knows that he needs to step up, and he's trying to will his team to victory.
Listen, he's a freak of nature, this guy. This is the best athlete I have ever seen across any sport. Debate it if you choose. But I will say this, that
I've seen LeBron James, but continue.
you can say that. I'm going to stick with Cristiano Ronaldo just because he's got athleticism like I've never seen before. He's a science project. The oldest man to score a hat-trick at a World Cup, probably the sexiest man to do so as well. So, fantastic performance. Good for you. I'm happy to see it.
Let's move to a huge Sunday matchup, Germany versus Mexico. The Germans are the defending champions in the World Cup. Can Mexico pull this upset, Colby?
I think there's a possibility. One thing that we've seen is that Germany and Mexico always seem to come up in the World Cup matched up together, and it's always pretty close, sometimes 2-0, sometimes 1-1. But this Mexico team, what I have been impressed with, they seem to be more of a physical side this time than what we've seen previously. It's not going to be that just pass all the time. They're a lot more direct, where I think they can put a little bit of pressure under this favored German team.
What does Mexico have to do to pull the upset?
You're asking the wrong person because I am absolutely not on the bandwagon for Mexico to do well in this competition. I'm saying they get humiliated by Germany because Germany are out there to prove a point. They're the world champions, and they're world champions for a reason. They've lost a lot of experienced players. I understand that. They've lost the highest ever goal scorer in the World Cup history, Miroslav Klose. So to replace that on the big stage is not easy. Mexico have to be at their very, very best to get anything from this match.
All right, quickly, guys. 2026, the World Cup is coming to the United States of America, Canada, Mexico. How big of a deal is this? What's it going to do for soccer here in the U.S.?
I remember being a 12-year-old boy watching Kobe Jones run around in 1994 on a field, and it got me addicted to the game even more than I was before. So it made me fall in love with it, and I think, once again, we'll have the opportunity to take our children to watch a game, to watch a World Cup on our shores. I mean, this is just awesome.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. I think we have to look at the legacy of the '94 World Cup. It brought us MLS and the sport and the growth of soccer in this country. I think with 2026 and everything that comes with it, the funds, the attention will allow us with this long runway to really expand the game at the bottom, build from the bottom up in this World Cup, to allow the youth and the youngsters to play and enjoy the sport.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. All right, welcome back. Time for Last Call. Jim Jackson's here. Let's move to Mike Bibby, who you can catch playing in the Big Three on FS1 starting next week. The former Kings star is looking absolutely jacked in a photo put out by the Kings. Jim, do you expect Bibby to dominate the Big Three?
Well, I don't think those muscles will help him get quicker. As you get older, bro, you lose speed. There's some younger guys coming in the league, but when I first saw Mike and I saw him like that, I was like, bruh, what you doing? What you doing?
You know what? I'm going to tell you what it reminds me of. My cousin Kevin's about to be upset with me. I'm sorry, Aunt Dorothy, for saying this. This reminds me of my cousin Kevin. He's about 10 years older than me. When I was a little kid, about 8, 9 years old, me and my brother were getting bullied by some older boys. My cousin Kevin came home from the joint.
Big up
Swole
top.
up
Big
like
up
that,
top.
Shut everything down. Never had another problem in my neighborhood.
Hey, but Mike still got a jump shot, though. Mike still threw all the muscle, so 4-pointers. So
Kevin, I love you for that.
Mike,
Still
my
appreciate
man,
that.
I got your back,
All right,
brother.
to top NBA prospect Marvin Bagley, who reportedly will sign an endorsement deal with Puma, making him the only current NBA player signed with the shoe company and their first NBA player since Vince Carter 20 years ago. Jim, will Bagley make Puma popular in the NBA?
No, but you know what Puma should do? They should market him on the leisure line, because that's where Puma makes their money. Leisure, not basketball shoes. Leisure. That's where I would go.
You know, if I don't get this move, 'cause if I saw someone in Pumas, like I just saw our producer Zeus wearing Pumas, I'd laugh. It makes me giggle. I didn't even know Pumas still
But the
existed.
lifestyle shoe, though, who buys Under Armour?
Is that what that is? Toss it up here,
See,
Zeus.
look at that.
Yeah.
That's a cool shoe.
No, this is not a cool shoe.
But
Looks like a soccer shoe.
But for millennials, it's cool. So think
right?
about this. Steph Curry's with Under Armour. How many people really go wear Under Armour?
Jim, we're old enough to. They need to bring Converse
No,
back.
how about
the
ponies?
Dr. J.
No, bring some ponies back.
I had ponies. but
Exactly.
The cleanest shoe you could have was the Dr. J. Converse.
man. Ponies
Bring that
make it
back.
come back.
Ben
I'll
Simmons
sign it. I'll sign a
signed
pony
with
contract.
Converse. We'll see you next week.